Hello, you've caught me on a Monday evening just before bed. We might as well make some breakfast sandwiches for the week to get our family through a nice busy week. I've got my dog here waiting for any scraps. Got my dog here waiting for any scraps. Beep boop. And let's get started. So, as I've mentioned before, my cooking approach is pretty sort of like frugal and quick and not really fancy, but tried to be tasty. I'll show you the things that I would need to do something like this, sort of minimalist kind of cooking. I always use this. It's a nice spatula from Lee Valley. I always just use a chef's knife for everything. In this recipe, I'll use a couple of other things. Usually I just use this and tongs. Really get me through every single meal. If I'm going camping, I just pack these three things and a chopping board. But today, I forget why I need a knife, but I'm going to use a knife and fork. As I always say, never underestimate the power of a fork. It helps you a lot in the kitchen. Just a fork, you don't have to buy specialized tools. I've bought all the specialized tools over time. Been given all the specialized tools over time. You don't need them all. You need a fork. Don't underestimate the power of a fork. And this is one that's kind of hard to replace. I say I can do everything with a chef's knife. However, you really do kind of need a grater. You don't need a box grater. You don't need many different sizes of graters. You just need a grater. And this is good, sturdy, robust grater. I think it's a PC grater. I have one of them and one only. You don't need to fill your drawers with graters. And today I'm bringing this little tool because I thought you might like it. Sometimes I cook eggs in a mason jar lid, and it's just a fun way to make a nice circular egg. I'm going to bulk cook today. Kind of as a student, you're running off to class, go into your freezer or your fridge and grab some of these sandwiches that you've pre-made, heat them up in the microwave, go off to class, that kind of thing. You'll pay about $7 for a breakfast sandwich, but let's make some breakfast sandwiches in bulk and throw them in the fridge for the rest of the week. So that's what we're doing here. In my case, it's for my children who are teenagers now, and they don't sit down to a breakfast with me, but they will grab something on the way out. So let's make some little breakfast sandwiches. English muffins are something that I don't buy very often because they're quite expensive, but I'll buy them if they're on sale. They were on sale this today, so that's why I picked them up. Otherwise, they're just too expensive as a protein for me in my house because I just keep a budget pretty low for food. I'll make my own English McMuffins or English muffins, but I won't normally buy them. But these were on sale for about $2 today, so they're fine. So I would open my English muffins. Now I want to bulk cook, right? It's Monday night. I don't want to, if I'm going to spend some time doing this, I don't want to just make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sandwiches. 6 sandwiches with 3 kids and 2 adults really only lasts a day. So why do it? I might as well just do it in the morning. So I'm going to cheap out here a little bit and use my Dempster's white bread because I'm a child of the 80s and I like Dempster's white bread. It's still fortified. It's still fine for you. It's still fine for raising my teenagers. Might not be the best bread in the world, but I kind of like it. And I'm confident enough to say that. I remember what my knife is for. My knife is to spread any sort of butter or fat or ghee or oil or something on them. Lately, I'm obsessed with using this stuff that's called tallow, which is beef fat, and it's a saturated fat. Saturated fat is fine for my family right now because we don't have any health concerns around saturated fat. You may or may not. I'm raising teenage boys who can take as much saturated fat as really they want, and doesn't really affect them so much. They're growing boys, they're burning a lot of calories. They're active boys. They're burning a lot of calories. So I'm using a saturated fat, but you can use whatever you want. So I'm just going to toast these up. And when I'm cooking, I really like to use only 2 appliances really. Although this one's new, this one's a smoker. That's just kind of fun. But I use 2 appliances and they're actually behind your screen right now. And those 2 appliances are a Weber Q barbecue, which works like an oven, and a Blackstone grill, which you don't have to have a Weber Q or a Blackstone grill. You just need a grill, like a cast iron pan on a heat source, and a barbecue or an oven. You can do everything, but those are mine, and I can show them to you here if you want. There's the dog getting into things. Stop it. Ah, stop it. Here's the Blackstone grill. And here's the Weber Q, which I will put you on later. I'll put the laptop on and you are going to leave it. All right. So we're just going to use one of those. We're just going to use a grill. You can pretend it's a piece of, you can pretend it's a cast iron pan or any pan on any heat source, which you may have. So I just kind of like mine because it's kind of big for batch cooking for a large family. Mine doesn't have an automatic starter anymore, so I start it like this. Here goes the other one. Probably have to have a lid down for that, but you'll see it when it ignites. So I play around with this all the time with propping it up and down. The Blackstone grill is made so that it's supposed to be sloped down at the back and everything goes through this hole that you can see here, but I don't really use it that way. I prop it up, go all different directions. Right now, we're just going to toast our buns. And should probably do that on low heat. So I'm putting them both on low heat and I'm just going to put everything on the grill. So you could be using any frying pan, any heat source. You know, I use an electric hot plate a lot as well. They're about, $10 item. I'm fortunate enough to have this grill that does a lot of food. But most of my life, I did not have it. It's pretty recent that I could buy a grill like this. And what you have to cook, what you have as a heat source and what you have to put the food on is really of no consequence. You can do all of the same things. So I just move it around till everything fits. And let's just sit that on there while we do the rest of our work and kind of toast these up, ready for our sandwiches. Now, next thing we'll cook are some eggs. So we are lucky to have our own hens. So we have these lovely eggs. I like to use a counter to break the egg because if any yucky stuff comes off the egg here, I don't like tapping, farm raised. These are farm fresh eggs from our hens. I don't like tapping them here. I might, they're washed, but they might have a little bit of straw in them or something, or a little bit of shell can crack into my Pyrex. So I always use a counter to crack my eggs. I am cracking yesterday's eggs. And if any of you have access to farm fresh eggs, oh, and I'm throwing the shells to the dog, by the way. Good for them. If any of you have access to farm fresh eggs, you don't want to use same day eggs. Same day eggs still have like some gases in them that are going to make this cloudy instead of clear. You see that these are nice and clear. These also haven't been in a fridge. I just know that cooking with some eggs that are room temperature is very different than cooking with cold eggs. If I run out of these room temperature eggs that were laid yesterday, then I will use these cold eggs. You can tell they're cold because they're getting condensation on them, which looks like you cannot see, but the cold eggs have condensation on them. The cold eggs just cook a little bit differently than room temperature eggs. I like a room temperature egg to cook with. So that sounds a little bit fussy, but All right, so I'm making a lot of breakfast sandwiches. The dogs are eating the shells. Both dogs are not eating the shells. One dog eats the shells. There he goes. And the other dog just licks the shells. Okay, so that's a lot of eggs. I don't know how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 eggs. Let's just do 12 and see what a dozen gets us. These are nice green eggs from Azure and Easter Egger hens. That one was fertilized, so that one would have turned into a chick. Whenever you make eggs, whenever you're gonna fry eggs, not fry eggs, but whenever you're gonna make like scrambled eggs or something, it's always nice to add a little bit of cream to it. So I'll go get some cream. So all you have to do to make a good egg, if you're gonna fry it, is add a little bit of cream in the egg. And as I said, never underestimate the power of a fork. You don't have to buy a big blender, mixer, all of those things. Sometimes it's nice to have like a hand whisk where you turn the dial. Those are kind of fun sometimes. But really all you need is a fork to make these eggs. I even like it if it's not completely mixed. And then we add nothing else to eggs to make a good egg. Nothing else other than a little bit of cream is fine. If you want to add some air in there, it's a good thing. And you can easily do that with a fork. And I'm just going to check on the buns. Okay, so the buns aren't quite toasted. So we'll just put the eggs aside for now. And we'll prepare the sausage. So in order to make sausage patties, what I do is I just buy whatever sausage is on sale. What I found here on sale today is just a Italian sausage that's spicy. I just cut right through the package here and I'm taking the outside off. This is a cheap way to make breakfast sausage rounds. Breakfast sausage rounds cost a lot of money, even if you buy them at Costco or a discount store. Breakfast sausage rounds cost a lot of money, but you can often find sausages on sale. So I take apart sausages that are on sale to be budget friendly, and I just take the insides of them. So there's the insides of the sausage meat. And then I mix up that sausage meat all together. I don't have to add anything to it. It should be on a chopping board that's plastic, not this wooden one. So I'm going to have to sterilize this, but here's a tip for you, is that I'm not afraid of sterilizing. Because a tip for you is that even though soap and washing and everything and bleach is great, so is the sun. So I will wash this as I would wash anything else. And then I stick it out in the sun and let the UV energy do its thing and sterilize this. So this is basically pre-made nice sausage meat, just not made into rounds. And then what we're going to do when we put it on our grill is we're just going to turn it into a little round, and we're going to fry that up into a little round shape once our grill is free. So let's take a look at our grill. All right, so we're back on this Blackstone grill, and you can see that I use my hands for a lot of the cooking too. So these ones are really nice. And whichever ones are lighter can go in the space of the ones that are getting darker. because no grill is very even. So we'll get these darker ones off to the colder side. And we'll get the ones that need to grill up. Oh, you can see the difference in the grill. It's very hot here. It's very cold here. So we take the hot ones. And here's a really cold one. Has to go over in the hot spot. And you just get used to that. It's a very cold one. Go in the hot spot. There we go. And a cold one. These ones are looking pretty good. I'm just going to flip them over. They don't have any fat on the other side, but there's enough fat on the grill at this point to make it kind of tasty. Not too bad. So we'll stay here for a minute and we'll get these all done. Now, if you prefer not to cook with your hands, there are some good tools for this. The spatula from Lee Valley is the very best one. You can use that, or these are perfect tongs. They're from a restaurant supply company. Once you find the perfect tong, you just like use it and never use a different tong again. So I have about 4 of these. And I have about 4 of these. And that seems to be enough. And I threw out everything else. 4 of these, 1 chef's knife, 1 cheese grater, throw out everything else. All right, so these are looking all nicely toasted. Now, even though I'm going to put these away cold and then just microwave them for my guests, which are my children, they'll still taste good because the little bit of char that's on them actually tastes good, right? Now, everybody loves salt and pepper. It's going to taste yummy, but even yummier with a little bit of salt and pepper. This has been outside, so needs a little extra motivation to get working, because leaving salt outside ever makes it kind of chunk up because of the condensation. One last thing we're going to do before we burn all these is we want to get our hot sauce on. And we're going to do that kind of messy. We like hot sauce in our family. You can use pesto. You can use pea sauce, whatever. I like to use hot sauce. And then I turn it over, and those little bits of hot sauce are just going to grill on here. They're going to be stuck on this toast. I really rather use my fingers. They're going to be stuck on this toast, and they're just going to make the toast nice and yummy, even though I'm microwaving these. All right. Not a noticeable amount of hot sauce. It's not like wet or anything. It's going to make this toast taste good. So that's our toast done. Now, when you take toast off anything, a tip is that you can't put it on like a plate or something, or don't put it on plastic. Don't put it on the counter. Don't put it on a plate. If you're dealing with something like toast, you have to put it on wood. Okay, so a nice dry piece of wood. So we'll put this here on our periodic table chopping board, so that it can like breathe. Because if you put it on something like a plate, then the condensation is going to be horrible. And also, let them breathe. Don't let them let them kind of breathe and not get soggy. Okay, so just kind of stack things like this. If we're going to make something that ends up going cold, then stack them so that they end up having lots of space to not go soggy. Okay. Same with grilled cheese. When you're doing grilled cheese, my goodness, don't take your grilled cheese and put it on a plate to eat. You put your grilled cheese on a wood to eat, or on, paper towel or something with an air gap, or else the bottom of your nicely toasted grilled cheese is gonna go all soggy, and that's a big no-no. So we just kind of stack it like that, and then in between here, in between these rows, there's kind of like some air coming in. So make sure that doesn't go soggy. Now we just clean off the grill for our next preparation. Clean cast iron. Get rid of the big pieces. Get rid of the big pieces. You put just a regular oil, like a cheap oil, like a canola oil kind of thing on it. You move around the canola oil. You wash off the canola oil. And then if you don't like the flavors that's on it, you would put some water on it. You would do this and then you would repeat. But I like the flavors that are on here. The flavors that are on here are the hot sauce and the little bit of toast. And we might as well cook our eggs now. Let's do our eggs. I kind of like this huge grill for doing eggs. So what I do is I see like what the slope is on my grill. So the Blackstone grill is set up to slope down towards this hole, but I've propped it up at the back with various things. So I can see it sloping this way right now, which is good. I have it set to low, kind of like this. I think I can make a nice thin layer of egg. Remember, that's my hot spot. I know that's my hot spot on the grill. I'm going to avoid this hole because I don't want to pour all of my hen's good work out the hole, yes? A little bit going out of the hole there. Take my favorite tool, get it out of there. I have it on low setting. The one thing with this grill, and maybe yours is better, or whatever tool you're using is better, is that this doesn't go low enough. For me, this never goes low enough. The lowest setting. There's no way to, on a Coleman stove, you can put things in the dial and make it go lower, but there's no way to go lower. On the Blackstone, I think what I'd have to do is shimmy this up, which I suppose I can do. But it's not ideal in that it doesn't go low. So there we go. We have our eggs on there. I want to add some flavor to the eggs. Let's come over here and add some flavor to the eggs. I grabbed some herbs from my garden just now, but it was in the dark, so I'm not sure exactly what I grabbed. But just take all of the herbs that are in your garden, or whatever you have in the house. I grabbed these nice chives. I'm gonna take the chives. I'm gonna take the blossom chives out of them because this stem is really hard. So I'm gonna take those out. And I'm left with just the nice chives. This is another hard one. I'm left with just the nice chives. Now I have to be careful of these ends. My children often complain that I'm cooking with grass. I put grass in their food because I'm a little rustic of a cook. But there we go. It's probably good enough. I probably won't get complaints about the grass. And I like cutting these chives really tiny. Chives are a perennial, so I have so many of them, just more and more and more each year. This, if I were buying chives at the grocery store, they would cost about $6, so I wouldn't throw this out. But in this case, as a perennial in your garden, that I put a dome over it so it lasts all winter, I can throw that part to the dogs. Now these beautiful blossoms are actually edible. So even though I'm not using the steak, I'm going to use a few of these blossoms to go into my eggs. Because there's nothing wrong with having some purple blossoms in our eggs, maybe not that many. So let's go put this in our eggs. All right, so our eggs are doing okay over here. And so now we've added some flavor. Not sure you can see it nicely. There we go. We've added some flavor from the garden there. It's probably enough flavor because we're making a morning dish, right? We don't have to have it packed with flavor or spice or anything. We don't want to really overwhelm our taste buds in the morning, but that's looking pretty good. So now what I would do is I need to be aware that this Blackstone's pretty cold over here, right? I'm gonna go like this. And maybe what I would usually do is I would just sort of cut some corners off like this. And this is what I would use for each. It's waiting for this to adjust. This is what I would use for each sandwich. Maybe flip it over. But what else you can use? I'll show you a little trick. If you want your sandwiches to be fancy, you can use these. This is just a mason jar. And you can cut a little mason jar there. And make yourself a fancy piece of sandwich that is mason jar shaped. But we're kind of overcooking our eggs, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it in lots and lots of little strips. And I do that with this same Lee Valley tool that I use for pretty much everything. So here I am cutting these strips. I'm not seeing that the camera is really getting this very well. There we go. Cutting these little strips with this little tool that I have. The thing is with cast iron, it's really, you can do anything to it and then just build it again. So these are nice little pieces of egg. I wouldn't flip them, but my audience kind of likes egg overdone. So I'll overdo these eggs. And here we go. I don't want to burn these ones on the hot section, so I'm working kind of fast. They're sitting there on the hot section. These ones might be getting burnt. I use my hands a lot in cooking. Okay, so I'm flipping these all over. These are sections of egg that I'm going to put on my little egg McMuffins. And I'm just going to stack them over there where it's cold. Remember, this is the hot section of a Blackstone. Whatever you're cooking on is going to have a hot section too. I guarantee it. Okay, so these ones are all nicely cooked. They're done. I'm not going to put any crazy flavors on here because again, it's for a breakfast food and people are just waking up. So their stomachs don't need anything crazy, but You know, my family loves a lot of salt and pepper, so I'm gonna do that. Don't forget, they still have a flavor, a little bit of hot sauce and a little bit of that tallow flavor from the grill from when we did the buns. I'm gonna take these off onto this chopping board that also has our herbs still on it, which is no problem. These little bits of eggs are going to just collect a little bit more herbs, which is a nice fresh flavor for the morning. Sorry about that. Just burnt you. You're probably wondering what to do with the rest of this. Well, this is just such a cool part of this grill. I mean, it's almost useless. The good part about, if I had a cast iron pan that's on a heat source, then I would move around the pan, of course. But this is not a cast iron pan on a heat source. It's a Blackstone griddle. And this part of the grill that's cold is very, very useful. This part of the grill that's cold is very, very useful. Because normally, when you're cooking, you have some food done and you put it there. And then you cook the rest and then you put it there. So you need a part of a grill that's actually cold. Although that probably wasn't done on purpose, but it's very useful. Just in this case, it's a little bit annoying because we happen to be making eggs. So here we go. These eggs are now fine on the hot spot here. It's actually quite a nice egg, but not nice enough to put in my sandwiches. So this is some nice egg. I'm just going to like scramble it, put it in a glass container, put salt and pepper on it, some hot sauce, and then that'll be like a scrambled egg. A nicely made scrambled egg. Or probably my husband to eat in the morning. He'll probably eat it cold. Put some cheese on top. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is make some cheese for these sandwiches. By this point in my life, I really like this cheese. It's from Costco. It's called Balderson 2020. It goes on sale sometimes. I don't buy it unless it goes on sale, but it was on sale. It's lovely. It's aged 2 years, I believe. And that's my favorite cheese. However, my kids like just regular cheese. I forget what regular cheese is called, but it's in the grocery store, usually for about $7, goes on sale for about $3. Don't buy it unless it's less than $4. When it goes on sale, buy tons of it. Stack them all in your fridge. They last forever. And if you end up with an aged cheese, you end up with an aged cheese. So we clean our grill again. My grill is on low. That's a pretty quick clean, which is fine because we're okay with these flavors. We like these flavors. And our grill is on low. We just want to make a little bit of cheese. Not too much cheese. Too much cheese is kind of gross in the morning. Cheese is greasy. But we want to make some cheese to go in like a nice thin layer. But cheese is kind of nice when it's crispy. I'm gonna put these chunks where it's really hot and they'll be fine. That's all the cheese I have right now. Not gonna open this good stuff. These are sandwiches for my kids. So this is to be savored. Now, when you're making cheese on a grill like this, you really want to watch it. You can kind of combine your pieces so that you don't have these little flyaway pieces. Cheese is kind of an expensive ingredient, so you want to use it all. We don't make bacon very much anymore, but sometimes I'll do this, cut it into strips, and the kids call it fake bacon. Because it's pretty good, pretty yummy, kind of like a strip of bacon. If you cook on low, and again, Blackstone doesn't go very low, but if you cook on low, you can get this to a nice baking consistency. I'm not doing anything else. I'm watching it because I know how fast this can burn. I have to move it over to the cold sections of the grill. And after the cheese, then we just have to make the good part, which is the sausage. And then assemble the sandwiches. We'll wrap them in parchment paper and we'll make some fresh ingredients to go with them that we put on afterwards when we heat them up, but we should have those ready to go on. The cheese needs a few more minutes. I can crank up the temperature a little bit. All right, I'm gonna actually turn this off right now because this is perfectly cooked. Like almost perfectly cooked. So then when I turn off the temperature, as it cools down, it's gonna be perfect. You can't really move it when it's so slimy. So I'm gonna let that get perfect. Okay, so we're gonna leave that. And let's come back over here where we'll make some of our fresh ingredients. So I just took the egg off the board. And now I'm turning the board upside down so I have a fresh board again. And some of the fresh ingredients we would want is nicely sliced tomatoes. We don't want a lot of tomato in the morning. This is not a very nice tomato. This is the tomato that was on sale. Here in Canada, we want to grow our own tomatoes all summer, but tomatoes aren't quite ready yet. This is a hothouse tomato grown in Ontario, but I mean it's not a nice tomato. And nice freshly grown outside tomatoes in Canada are one of the best foods in the world, I think. But this is not a nice tomato. But, you know, you're not doing a sandwich justice if you don't put a piece of tomato on it. And we're frugal cooks. We're not going to pay for a really good tomato this time of year when we're growing really good tomatoes in our garden. So we wait, and that makes us appreciate the tomatoes once we get them, the ones that we grow. But we'll put all of these in a Ziploc or just in a Ziploc bag or a glass container for when we heat up our sandwiches, and we'll put one of these on at the last minute. And at the last minute also, we will grab some of this lettuce. This is lettuce that's actually growing in this container, so it stays nice and fresh. But I'll have this in a Ziploc in the fridge just for last minute assembly. So let's check on, so those are our fresh ingredients. Another thing we can do is we can heat up a little bit of this. This is just a roast that I made, that I smoked on the Traeger. And I can heat up some slices of this and also put this in these sandwiches. I might do that after I let you go. But all we have left to do is get this cheese off here and cook up those sausages. So now the cheese is coming off beautifully. Don't know if you can see that, but let's focus in here. Maybe I need to turn the lights down. Can you see that? Cheese is beautiful and crispy. Beautiful. Here, I'll hold it up like this. Beautiful, crispy cheese, just like bacon. And then I'll just break off big parts of that for each sandwich. Beautiful cheese chips here. A keto favorite. Pay a fortune for that. Okay, so our next step then is our meat, which we stole from sausages that went on sale. This is a really easy part. We just start up our grill again. It's a bit hard to start when it's hot because I have to lift it. I don't know about you, but lighters, automatic lighters never work for a long time with me. Not a lot of years, but that's fine. You got muscle memory for starting your grill. So we have this sausage, and really it's just kind of best to work with your hands. Make these into very expensive patties from a very cheap sausage. So as you know, this is the cold part, so I'm not going to start on the hot part of a grill, am I? That would be silly. So we'll start on the cold part of the grill so that that can kind of get a head start, right? And you just have to make these rough, rustic shapes and throw them on there. And we made a lot of bread, so I'll make these kind of small so that we have enough for every sandwich. So again, I don't use a lot of tools. Somebody bought me a press, a cast iron press for my birthday. Don't know what to think about that. Suppose this would be a good application of it. But I really just like using the same 4 tools that I own. But maybe we can try it together. Remember, it's really hot here. And whatever you're cooking with, it'll be really hot in some other spot. And remember, I don't have the ability to move around this pan on the hot spot that you usually have the ability to do. So I had moved the food around onto the hot spot instead, which is cool and fun. So I think from like a $5 pack of sausages, we've got a lot of sausage patties here. Considering a restaurant sells one of these sausage patties for, I don't know, I said $7, but maybe $5. $7 for the meal, maybe $5 for the sandwich, $4.99. Considering how many of these sandwiches we're making right now, pretty good deal, and we've had fun doing it. So again, the Lee Valley spatula that's still ever thin is what I would use for this.
Not a lot of times in life you want to press down on your food. Some people press on sandwiches and everything. I just, it's not usually a good idea. I'm doing it now just to kind of get a shape here. That's it. Here's this press. Here's this press that was bought for my birthday. Let's try it for the first time ever. Yeah, probably kind of works. But I mean, it makes me have another big tool in my kitchen. So really like having one tool. Okay, so now we can move our cold ones to our hot zone. And this is the fun part. Remember, these are all ready spicy Italian sausages, so that should mean that they have flavor, but we love salt and pepper, so I'm gonna add salt and pepper. And this salt has really got a lot of condensation into it. There we go. Salt and pepper. I don't like adding garlic for a breakfast food. That's kind of gross. And I don't add lemon to breakfast food, really. I guess some breakfast foods. And we'll just keep flipping these until they're nicely browned. And remember, I'm gonna make all this cold, wrap it all up. But when it's heated just in the microwave, it'll still take on all of that yummy flavor because it has been grilled, and a little bit of char sits on there and gives it flavor, even though it's going to be microwave. So I assume these are pork sausages. Of course, you have to make sure that you do cook it to a good internal temperature. I don't really take temperature on food. I do it by trial and error. Pork and chicken, I kind of know it's done by its texture. I can make another video about the texture of meats as you cook them if you want. And turn them down a little bit, just so I don't burn some of them. But it's a fun kind of cooking to just cook quickly on a grill. So we'll let those cook and I'll lay out my sandwiches. Okay, so those are almost done. So we will come over here and lay out the sandwiches. I put some parchment paper on here, and we're going to wrap them in parchment paper. Okay, so there's our breads. And a couple eggs on each one. And some lovely cheese on each one. And these look good and ready too. Turn off our grill. Again, something like this is really greasy. I would not put on a plate. It'll just get like even more saucy and greasy. I would put something like this on paper towel. Or on wood. Wood is gonna soak it up just the right amount. Paper towel would soak it up even more. In our family, we tend to eat on sort of the fatty side, because we don't have any health conditions that really tell us otherwise at this point.
So I would put a fatty meat like this on wood. Now, the only problem with these breakfast wraps, the fact that I'm gonna make them go cold, is that our nice crispy cheese might not be crispy anymore when I reheat it, but the rest of the flavors will be there and will be lovely. So these are my batch cooked breakfast sandwiches. What do you think? Add a little bit more meat to these big ones, maybe? I mean, it's a really cheap meal. I don't have to cheap out on this meat because this was, again, your discount sausages that are opened up and made into patties. For some reason, patties are really expensive. Now we can take what's left over and make a nice keto meal out of it with some just sausage and cheese. Maybe put some pesto on this, a little bit of lemon and maybe some avocado, and make a nice keto meal for some of the members of the family. But these are lovely wraps or lovely sandwiches. And just to finish this off, what I would do is microwave this. So what I'll do is each one of these, I'm going to wrap up each of these as a little sandwich. In the morning, I get up really early with the kids. I get up really early, but they like me to make them a nice hot breakfast. So I'll grab one of these from the fridge and I'll put it in the microwave. Okay, 30 seconds, a minute in the microwave. Come out of the microwave. I'll open it up. I'll put a fresh tomato on it. Fresh leaf. Wrap it back up again. Put that by their school bags with their name on each one. And that's their nice warm breakfast. Serve it with a glass of milk. They're probably not going to drink it. They're going to take this sandwich. They're going to go to the bus. And it's a beautiful thing. There you have it. Nicely wrapped sandwiches. Nice and healthy for the morning. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. Probably costs me $5 for the meat. Eggs are kind of expensive because we're raising our own chickens, but say $5 for the meat and say $5 for the buns. And that wasn't very much cheese. So about $10 for 3, 6, 9, 10 sausages. So yeah, about $10 for 10 sausages, about $1 a sandwich. I'm gonna wrap them all up. I'm gonna throw them all in the fridge, and I'm gonna have enough sandwiches to last probably only 2 days in this house, but hopefully in your house it lasts longer. Hope you've enjoyed that. It's been fun. Thank you. See you again next time.